a glimpse of the sunrise this time around, but I guess not. We're just about to arrive in Colombo, and it's just gone on 6 o'clock in the morning. I've got to be in the theater in an hour, and I'm sure the Windjammer and other places have just opened up for breakfast. So I gotta get going. I'll keep you posted as to how things shake out. Anyway, take care and wish me luck. I'm probably gonna need it yet. Wow, it was a beautiful sunrise. It's just a shame it's not picking up very well in the viewfinder, and you can barely see the city behind me. Oh well. So it seems we are on a bus despite this being a walking tour. I guess Old Colombo is too far from the port, such as it is. Fair enough. All right, we've been dropped off and we're about to start walking. And I can't tell you what I'm smelling here, but we've also been taught how to cross the street here in Sri Lanka. You hold out your hand like, stop everybody. If you've got both your hands out, though, it feels like you're going, I surrender, don't hit me. It's slightly distracting to be listening to the guide while I'm talking to you. Fortunately, she's paused at the moment as we wander through this little section. Ah, wow, it's dark in here. Ah. So this is supposedly an open-air theater. And it is hard to hear and follow along. But it's a lot easier for you to see what's going on in here than it is for me. It's very dark. In any event, this theater is operating as one during the evenings, but during the day, there are stalls set up to use as a marketplace. I think I've got a handle on the fragrance when I first came into this section of the market. There's a certain vinegariness, a slight whiff of ammonia, and maybe a tiny bit of sweetness. I've seen a few places burning incense for what I presume to be that very reason, as opposed to, say, an offering to the gods or something.
All sorts of things are on display here. I've seen a few melons that are cut open to display themselves. For the most part, everything is just ready to take home. Another case of incense being burned.
Well, she did say that this was a walking tour and not a shopping tour, and that's definitely borne out here. We have just been kind of squeezing through the narrow aisles of that produce market. And just go in and out, and we're back on the street for the moment, trying to find where everybody else is. I'm bringing up the rear, more or less, because there's just so much to take in and not a whole lot of chances to film.
They've got some spices on sale here, peppers and other vegetables. Another explanation for the scent of the place, a lot of dried and smoked fish. Interesting looks to some of these trucks. Now that we're crossing the street, we're going into the textiles department, and they've got about 100 different shops selling textiles of one sort or another in this section of Pettah. Our guide points out that if we were to come here at about 11 o'clock, this place would be so crowded we couldn't hardly move. And I guess this precludes us from shopping in any event, since most of the places are closed yet. But there's certainly a lot of places here. Even though they do follow game theory of sorts, where all manner of similar businesses congregate, there are still the occasional restaurant here and there, so that everybody gets to have a tea break nearby. And right here in Pettah, one of the first things we come across here, but that isn't a business per se, is a mosque built by the Moors back in the days even before the Portuguese got here. Needless to say, they brought their religion with when they moved in here.
guide tells us that the red and white striping of the mosque is based on the colors of the pomegranate. Now, I'm not sure, nor is she, as to why the pomegranate would be considered sacred in Muslim culture. I get that it's an important part of, their diet and their cuisine, but while I realize the number of seeds in every pomegranate allegedly represents the number of laws there are in the Talmud, it doesn't seem that the Muslims have any particular reason for the pomegranate to be considered sacred other than, its cultural significance. So, I don't quite get it, and I'm not really getting any explanation here. I'm gathering that our guide isn't a Muslim. It is a very minority religion here. Buddhism is the major religion, followed by Hinduism. You might notice that behind me now are a bunch of flower shops. And these aren't actual florists so much as makers of plastic, fake flowers. And I guess this is very popular among boys to give girls around here because, of course, they last forever, just like love ought to. On the other hand, one could also argue they're fake, just like the love. Our guide isn't keen on them, to be sure. I don't mind telling you that while it's kind of convenient to have the silence around me while I'm talking, this headphone, as it bangs against my throat, is mighty uncomfortable. And this particular ear side isn't padded, so it's very uncomfortable. Our guide talks about being mindful as we walk around in here. And it turns out, fortunately, it's not so much that we need to worry about our possessions or our belongings or anything like that, but just the fact that, the ground is uneven and there's always a trip hazard more than anything else. The good news is that by walking, we're moving faster than most of the motorized traffic here. And it's not even 8 o'clock. Okay, now the traffic is starting to loosen up a little bit, but it's still going fairly slow. And we're just passing a Buddhist temple, and I have to admit that given the pace of things around here, I wonder when there's actually time to meditate around here anymore. Or anywhere, for that matter. And behind me now is the canal that basically serves as the moat to the fort district. The Pettah is basically the outer fort, and we're headed towards the inner fort district. Now, the fort doesn't stand anymore, as it's now become sort of the high-rent district of Colombo. But this is where all the history is. The Portuguese actually imported caimans, which became the name of the canal, in order to prevent people from getting into the fort. I don't know if you can see it, but as we're walking past this overpass, I'm seeing spots where it's almost damaged along the way. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, did somebody hit that and go off the bridge? It's terrifying to think of somebody doing that right now in front of us.